Hello, everyone. I'm Çetin Kaan, and I'm excited to be speaking at the Postman Student Summit. And I'm hoping I can contribute something to you in this lightning talk. Today, my lightning talk is about GraphQL versus REST API. In this lightning talk, I aim to inform you about the differences between the REST and GraphQL, some of their benefits, and maybe when should you use GraphQL or when should you use REST in some projects. So before we begin the presentation, let me introduce you myself. My name is Çetin Kaan Taşkıngenç. I'm a third-year Management Information Systems student from Yaşar University, which is a university located in Turkey. I'm a Postman student leader, and I'm a community lover. I love student communities. I love developer communities. I love to participate in many events. And I'm currently a Beta Microsoft Learn student ambassador. Lastly, my development hobbies are mostly web development. My favorite technology is Node.js. I love using Node.js and developing applications. So yeah, enough talking about me. Let's talk about the presentation. First of all, I'm going to talk about what REST is. Most of you here in the chat are probably familiar with REST APIs, but for the ones who are not, I wanted to explain it so we can be on the same page. And then I'm going to follow it up with what GraphQL is. I'm going to show you some queries and mutations from GraphQL. Then we're going to talk about the similarities and the differences between the REST and GraphQL. Then I'm going to follow it up with the benefits of GraphQL. When should we use GraphQL, or why should we use GraphQL if we are already familiar with REST, for example? And I'm going to give you my final thoughts about GraphQL and REST and end it right there. So without further ado, let's begin. What is a REST API? A REST API is currently the most popular API in use. A RESTful API organizes resources into unique endpoints, as you can see in the picture, at the localhost 3000/blogs. The /blogs is the endpoint. To get data about a resource, you can make a HTTP request to a specific endpoint. Like if you want to see blogs in a website, you can make a GET request to /blogs, and you can receive the information about that site's blogs and the authors, the titles, etc. Talking about GET requests, REST API has many methods such as GET, POST, PATCH, and DELETE. There are many more HTTP requests in REST, but these are the most popular ones and most in use. For example, patch method helps you update a data, and delete method helps you delete a data, as its name suggests. So let's check out the structure of REST. As you can see, we have a pizza server. I choose to use a pizza server because I'm sure everyone loves pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? And this pizza server contains elements inside a pizza, such as tomato, cheese, and dough. If we are using a REST API, we can do a GET request to specific endpoints such as /tomato, /cheese, and /dough to receive tomato, cheese, and dough, as you can see in this structure. Now, we have finished talking about REST APIs. Let's talk about GraphQL APIs. So what is GraphQL, you might ask? GraphQL is a query language for reading and mutating data in APIs. GraphQL uses a schema and a type system, which is the most unique thing about it. GraphQL API uses a schema and a type system, which is the most unique thing about itself, which separates it from REST API. One interesting fact about GraphQL is that GraphQL can only perform POST requests. You might be wondering, like, Kaan, what do you mean? Only post requests? What kind of API is this? And you're right, but GraphQL has a specific method called mutations and queries to solve this issue. This is not an issue. This is how GraphQL works. And GraphQL has only one endpoint, while REST API can have multiple endpoints. The endpoint is /GraphQL, as you can see in this picture. Okay, so let's explore some queries and mutations from GraphQL. Queries in GraphQL help you perform GET requests, and mutations help you perform updates on data. As you can see on the left side of the presentation, we have a query for countries, and it gets the countries' names. And the second picture is the output of that. As you can see, JSON data received from GraphQL. As you can see, it's pretty easy to write and pretty easy to understand queries. And the right side, you can see a mutation example, which adds a country. In this example, we are actually not adding a country. We are adding hello. This is a mutation. So, yeah. And let's return to our pizza server again for GraphQL structure. As you can see, there's only one GraphQL. As you can see, there's only one endpoint, which is the /GraphQL. And we are receiving both cheese, tomatoes, and dough in this picture. This specifies how with queries you can get specific data, whatever data you want. While if you're using a REST API, you need to do 3 requests. But with GraphQL, you can get them all with just 1 request. So let's talk about the similarities between the two. Both GraphQL and REST API are stateless, meaning HTTP requests happens in complete isolation. Both of them can transfer JSON data, which is the most common way APIs transfer data. And both of them can work with any server-side programming language or any server-side programming framework. There has been a misconception online. I have seen some posts about GraphQL that people think GraphQL can only work with React or GraphQL can only work with AngularJS. That's wrong. Both of them can work with any server-side programming language or any server-side programming framework. Now, we have discussed their similarities. Let's go over their differences. First of all, REST API is URL-driven and GraphQL is query-driven. REST API can have multiple endpoints, while GraphQL has only one endpoint, which is the /GraphQL. REST API can have any endpoints such as /blog, /homepage, /profile, etc. REST API can perform GET, POST, UPDATE, DELETE, and many more HTTP requests, while GraphQL can only perform POST requests, but with usage of mutations and queries, you can update or get data. As you can see, there is an example of URL-driven versus query-driven. You can see they have many similarities. Both of them are doing a POST request. The main difference is that in URL, you are doing a POST request to /tomato to receive the data /data tomato, which sends you data tomato. While in query, you do a POST request to /GraphQL with a query, and that query returns you tomato. So we have discussed both of their strengths, weaknesses, differences, etc. Why should I use GraphQL? You might be asking to me. Like, Kaan, why should I use GraphQL? I already know REST API. I'm pretty good with it. I'm pretty familiar with it. Is there any benefit of learning GraphQL? Yeah, there are some benefits compared to REST API. Let me discuss them. First of all, the schema system. The schema system is amazing in GraphQL for both front-end and back-end teams. Schema system helps front-end developers understand the API and backend better, so they don't need to ask many questions to backend developers. They can just check out the schema and understand what's going on. This can lead into more effective workloads and overall performance increase in the workplace. But it's not the only benefit. The second benefit is that it prevents overfetching. Overfetching is kind of like, let's think it as like you want to an item, but you get that item, but you receive also many useless items in together too. As you can see, we have our pizza server again. We do a get request to toppings and we want to receive mushroom. As you can see in toppings, there are tomato, sausage, pepper, and mushrooms. We do this request and we receive shrooms, but we also receive tomato, sausage, and pepper, which is overfetching, which is not used can slow down our API or reduce performance. GraphQL goes over this with the query system because you can specifically imply what you want to get in the query system. You can specifically imply such as I want to receive shrooms and tomatoes. Just want to receive shrooms, etc. Okay, so let's talk about the last benefit of GraphQL, which is it prevents underfetching. What do I mean by underfetching? Like, yeah, it's the opposite of overfetching actually. As you can see, we are using our pizza server. We have our tomatoes, cheese, and dough requests, and they are making requests to form a pizza. But to form that pizza, we need 3 of them. We need 3 of these data, but we cannot do them in one request. We need to perform 3 get requests to build this pizza. While if you are using GraphQL, we could have just queried them all and received them with just one request, which would greatly improve the performance of our API and application. Now, I might have switched your side if you are a REST fan, and you might be thinking, wow, GraphQL is pretty good. Like, is there any reason I should use REST? GraphQL seems to be just like a better REST API. Well, there are some reasons you might want to use REST. First of all, REST is more popular than GraphQL. As you can see, the red is representing REST API and blue is representing GraphQL. I know Google Trends is not the most effective way of measuring the popularity, but if you look at the job openings online, most of them are REST API, and REST API is more popular than GraphQL. So it's a reason. And the second reason is GraphQL might be overdoing your application. Like, GraphQL is better for large applications. GraphQL is really awesome for large-scale applications, but for smaller applications, the performance difference may be too minor to notice. Like, GraphQL will probably improve the performance, but it wouldn't be noticeable compared to REST. And if you are used to REST, I'm used to REST. I think REST has a better syntax. It would be just better to use REST because it helps you develop applications quicker. So these are the reasons, and this is my end of my lightning talk. So thank you everyone here for listening me. Thank you Postman for again providing me this opportunity. Thanks.